The narcissist believes they hold the power, that they can bend your emotions at will and keep you trapped in their endless game. But here's the truth they don't want you to know. The greatest punishment you can give them doesn't come from shouting, arguing, or even fighting back. It comes from removing what they crave most: your attention, your energy, your willingness to be controlled. Imagine standing before them calm, steady, untouched by their chaos, while inside they burn with frustration. That silence, that indifference, that refusal to be manipulated, that is how you punish a narcissist. And once you know these ways, they will never look at you the same again. The first and most powerful way to punish a narcissist is to withdraw your attention. At their core, narcissists survive on what is often called supply. They need constant validation, constant drama, constant reminders that they matter more than anyone else. Your reactions, your explanations, even your anger become fuel for them. When you stop feeding that fire, the flames begin to die. Think about how a child throws a tantrum. The more you argue, the louder they scream. But when you step back and refuse to engage, the tantrum loses its force. A narcissist is no different. They push buttons to see you explode, to feel they still have control. By calmly removing your attention, you show them that the strings they once pulled no longer work. The Stoics often spoke of guarding your inner peace like a fortress. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily not to be shaken by the provocations of others. In the same way, when you withdraw your attention, you are not ignoring out of weakness. You are choosing strength. You are proving that your peace of mind cannot be hijacked. At first, they will escalate. They may insult, guilt, or attempt new tricks to pull you back into their orbit. But if you remain firm, their frustration grows. Without your attention, they feel powerless. That power shift is the punishment. It is quiet, invisible, but it cuts deeper than any argument ever could. The lesson is simple. Every moment you choose not to give them attention is a moment you reclaim your freedom. The second way to punish a narcissist is by setting boundaries and refusing to bend them. Boundaries are the invisible lines that protect your time, your energy, and your values. To a narcissist, those lines feel like chains because they thrive on crossing them. They expect you to bend, to adjust, to sacrifice yourself so they can remain in control. The moment you draw a line and calmly enforce it, you are challenging the very foundation of their power. Boundaries do not need to be loud or aggressive. They are simply clear. A quiet no, spoken without explanation, can shake a narcissist more than any argument. They want you to defend your choices because explanations give them room to twist your words. But when you stand firm, refusing to be moved, you reveal a strength they cannot manipulate. History gives us an image of this power. When a Roman general once confronted an enemy king, he drew a circle in the sand around him and demanded that he decide his course before stepping out. That line was immovable, and the king knew it. Boundaries work the same way. They are a declaration that your space, your values, your dignity are not negotiable. Of course, narcissists will test those lines. They will push, guilt, and accuse you of being cold or selfish. This is the trap. They want you to question yourself. But if you stay firm, their attempts lose impact. Each time they fail to break a boundary, their grip weakens. The punishment is simple, but devastating to them. By enforcing boundaries, you show them that their control has limits. You are no longer a resource they can drain at will. You have drawn your circle in the sand, and they cannot step across it without consequence. And the third way to punish a narcissist is to stay calm when they expect rage. Narcissists are experts at provoking strong emotions. They poke at insecurities, twist your words, and create situations designed to make you explode. Why? Because your anger confirms their power. When you shout, slam doors, or lose control, they feel victorious. It proves they still have influence over your inner state. But what happens when you refuse to give them that satisfaction? When they unleash insults or accusations and you remain composed, their weapon falls flat. Instead of fire, they are met with stillness. To a narcissist, that calm is unbearable. It tells them their tricks no longer work, that their chaos cannot move you. The Stoics believed that anger was a kind of slavery, chaining us to the actions of others. Epictetus taught that no one can make us angry unless we give them permission. By keeping calm, you are denying the narcissist that permission. You are showing that your emotions are yours alone, not theirs to control. This doesn't mean you must suppress your feelings or pretend you are unaffected. It means you choose not to perform your emotions for their benefit. You breathe, you pause, you respond with reason instead of reacting with rage. At first, they may push harder, growing louder or more dramatic. But the longer you refuse to rise to their bait, the more powerless they feel. That emptiness, that inability to spark your fury, punishes them more deeply than any words ever could. The greatest strength is calm in the storm. When you deny them your anger, you take away the very prize they were fighting for. The fourth way to punish a narcissist is to stop explaining yourself. Narcissists thrive when you justify, defend, or over-explain your choices. Every explanation you give becomes material they can twist. Every word another thread they can pull. The more you try to prove yourself right, the more power you hand them. They are not interested in your reasons, they are only interested in control. Silence, or a short, clear response, takes that power away. A simple, "I don't agree," or "that's my decision," is far more powerful than 10 sentences of explanation. When you refuse to feed them with endless words, you leave them nothing to manipulate. They are left facing a wall they cannot climb. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to act with justice and clarity, not to waste energy convincing others who could not understand. The truth is, you don't need to justify your choices to someone who is determined not to respect them. Every time you explain yourself to a narcissist, you are entering a debate where the outcome is already fixed. They will twist, deny, or belittle. But when you stop explaining, you end the game. Expect them to accuse you of being evasive or uncaring. That is their attempt to pull you back into justifying again. Do not fall for it. A calm, firm statement is enough. Over time, your refusal to explain will frustrate them because they can no longer use your words as tools against you. The punishment is subtle but powerful. You show them that your decisions belong to you, not to their approval. You demonstrate that your life does not require their permission or understanding. And nothing cuts deeper to a narcissist than realizing they no longer have the power to demand your explanations. The fifth way to punish a narcissist is to live well without them. Few things wound their ego more than seeing you thrive outside of their control. Narcissists want to believe that you cannot function, grow, or succeed without their presence. They want to be the center of your universe, the one you depend on for approval and direction. When you show, quietly and steadily, that your life is moving forward in their absence, it delivers a punishment sharper than any words could. Living well does not have to mean grand displays of success or wealth. It can be as simple as building a life filled with peace, stability, and purpose, things they cannot destroy or diminish. The narcissist hates the sight of your independence because it undermines their narrative. They cannot bear the thought that you are finding joy, strength, or fulfillment without them. The Stoics often taught that true wealth lies not in possessions, but in the strength of the inner life. Seneca wrote that the happy person is content with little because happiness comes from within. This principle is especially powerful when dealing with a narcissist. They may try to sabotage you, spread lies, or belittle your progress, but the dignity of living well speaks louder than their attempts to drag you down. At first, they may dismiss or minimize your growth. They may sneer, "It's nothing," or pretend not to notice. But beneath the surface, it unsettles them. Your success is a mirror showing them what they cannot control, and that mirror burns. The punishment is not revenge, it is freedom. By building a life of strength and peace, you not only punish the narcissist, but also heal yourself. And in the end, your steady growth is the clearest declaration that they no longer have power over you. The sixth way to punish a narcissist is to use indifference as a weapon. More than anger, more than confrontation, what truly unsettles them is your lack of reaction. They want to know they matter. They want to feel they can stir you up at will. When you meet their games with indifference, it cuts at their deepest need: significance. Indifference does not mean pretending they never existed or burying your feelings. It means you no longer allow them to dominate your emotional world. Their insults, their attempts at control, their calculated provocations, these things pass over you like wind over stone. They may expect outrage, sorrow, or pleading, but instead they are met with nothing. That emptiness speaks louder than any shouted words. History shows how powerful indifference can be. Emperor Hadrian was once mocked publicly, yet he responded with silence and continued on his way, untouched. To his critics, that lack of recognition was more punishing than retaliation. For the narcissist, your indifference works the same way. It shows them they no longer hold a place in your mind. Of course, they will not accept this quietly. They will try harder, raise their voice, or act more extreme to pull you back into the old pattern. But when you continue to respond with indifference, you train them to see that the supply they crave no longer exists, and for them, that realization is unbearable. The punishment here is profound. By becoming indifferent, you take away the very stage they need to perform. Without an audience, the narcissist is nothing. And when you stand firm in your calm disregard, you strip away their illusion of power and reclaim your own. The seventh way to punish a narcissist is to expose them with truth, not drama. Narcissists thrive in shadows, where lies and half-truths give them control. They manipulate with charm, distort reality, and twist facts to keep others blind. What they fear most is the steady light of truth, delivered without anger or spectacle. When you reveal their behavior calmly and factually, you deny them the chaos they use as cover. If you scream or argue, they can dismiss you as emotional or unstable. But when you speak plainly, "This is what happened, this is what you did," and let the facts stand, their mask begins to crack. They cannot easily fight truth delivered without heat. Think of sunlight. It does not argue with darkness, it simply reveals. The Stoics valued truth because it needed no decoration. A fact is complete in itself, needing no exaggeration. When you take that approach with a narcissist, you strip away their ability to spin the story in their favor. You expose them without lowering yourself into their games. Of course, they may deny, deflect, or try to paint you as the problem. That is expected. But the power lies in your calm delivery. You do not need to convince anyone. You simply place the truth where it cannot be ignored. Over time, others will see the patterns for themselves. The punishment here is devastating to them, being revealed without drama. They lose their ability to twist the narrative because you refuse to add fuel. The truth, steady and unshaken, is the light they cannot hide from. And nothing unsettles a narcissist more than knowing their carefully crafted illusion is crumbling in front of others. The eighth way to punish a narcissist is to never compete for their approval. Narcissists thrive on control, and one of their favorite tactics is to keep others in a constant state of seeking validation. They want to be the one whose approval matters most. They want you to constantly measure your worth by their standards because it ensures they remain at the center of your world. But the moment you stop playing that game, when you no longer seek their validation, they lose the power they hold over you. Refusing to compete for their approval is a quiet yet powerful rebellion. It's not about rejecting them outright, but rather about shifting the center of your life away from their judgment. Your value is no longer determined by their praise or disapproval. You are no longer waiting for their acknowledgement to feel worthy. This removes the very leverage they use to manipulate and control. The Stoics believed that a person's worth comes from within, not from external sources. Epictetus often taught that we should not base our happiness or self-esteem on others' opinions. When you live in alignment with your own values, not dependent on the fluctuating whims of a narcissist, you demonstrate an inner strength they cannot comprehend. The more you stand in your own sense of worth, the less power they have to undermine you. At first, they may try to bait you into seeking their approval, using praise, criticism, or subtle manipulation. But when they see you no longer care about their opinion, their power diminishes. They may lash out or accuse you of being indifferent or distant, but it will only reflect their own inability to control you. The real punishment is simple. By ceasing to seek their approval, you take away their power to validate or invalidate your existence. You are no longer a pawn in their game, and that truth alone shakes their fragile sense of superiority. The ninth way to punish a narcissist is to refuse to gossip or defend yourself. Narcissists often thrive on creating drama and manipulating stories to keep the narrative in their hands. They will twist words, spread rumors, and paint you as the villain to maintain their sense of control. When they can drag you into their web of gossip, they gain the satisfaction of seeing you react. But when you refuse to engage in their games, it removes their ability to control the story. Instead of responding to false accusations or spreading your side of the story, choose silence. Let them talk. Let them spread their lies, but do not participate. Your refusal to engage in gossip is a powerful statement. You are showing that their attempts to stir up drama have no effect on you. You are choosing not to lower yourself to their level, not to be part of their narrative. This frustrates them more than anything. Narcissists rely on the reaction of others to fuel their self-worth. But when you remain silent, you take away the one thing they need to validate their existence. And defending yourself in the face of their lies only gives them the attention they crave. It allows them to continue manipulating the situation, to twist the truth, and to portray themselves as the victim. But by refusing to gossip, to explain, or to fight back, you rob them of that opportunity. You show that your integrity and peace are more important than playing their games. This refusal to engage in gossip does not mean you tolerate their lies. It means you rise above them. You demonstrate that you do not need to defend yourself because the truth stands on its own. And nothing frustrates a narcissist more than seeing their lies go unchallenged. They are left with nothing to fuel their narrative, and that emptiness punishes them in a way no argument ever could. The 10th way to punish a narcissist is to cut off their access to your emotions. Narcissists feed on the emotional highs and lows of others. They want to see you in distress, to witness your reactions, because it confirms their control. Every time they push you into anger, sadness, or anxiety, they feel powerful. But when you learn to detach emotionally from their manipulations, you deny them the very fuel they need to survive. This doesn't mean you suppress your feelings or pretend you are unaffected. It means you no longer let them dictate how you feel. Their insults, their manipulation, their attempts to provoke you, These things no longer trigger the emotional reactions they seek. You learn to control your responses, recognizing that you are the only one who has the power to decide how to feel. When you take away their ability to elicit an emotional response, you rob them of the satisfaction they derive from controlling you. The Stoics taught that our emotions are not reactions to external events, but responses that we can choose. Epictetus said that while we cannot control what happens to us, we can control how we respond. By practicing this mindset, you become less susceptible to the narcissist's emotional manipulation. You recognize that their behavior is a reflection of their inner turmoil, not a reflection of your worth. You choose to remain calm and centered, no matter what chaos they try to stir. At first, they may escalate their tactics, pushing harder to see if they can make you react. But when they see that their efforts no longer shake you, they begin to lose their grip. The silence, the calmness, the lack of reaction, it frustrates them more than anything because it exposes their powerlessness. They are no longer the center of your emotional world, and that loss of influence is a punishment they cannot easily bear. The real power lies in your ability to remain unshaken. By cutting off their access to your emotions, you reclaim control over your inner peace, and that alone is more devastating to a narcissist than any confrontation could ever be. The 11th way to punish a narcissist is to let silence do the talking. Narcissists thrive on attention, any attention, whether positive or negative. They want to be noticed, to be the center of every conversation and interaction. When you respond to them, even with anger or frustration, you feed their need for validation. But when you choose silence, you deny them that satisfaction. Silence is a powerful tool. It holds a weight that words often fail to convey. When you stop engaging in their drama, when you stop defending yourself or explaining, you send a message that is clear and unyielding. Their behavior does not matter to you. Silence speaks louder than any argument because it forces the narcissist to face the emptiness they're trying to avoid. They are left in the uncomfortable position of having no one to play to, no one to manipulate, no one to react to their provocations. The Stoics understood the power of silence. Seneca often wrote about the value of restraint, of speaking only when necessary and choosing quietude over needless conflict. By maintaining silence, you refuse to participate in their games. You remove yourself from the chaos they try to create, and in doing so, you make it clear that their actions are irrelevant to your peace. When you remain silent, they may grow frustrated, trying harder to provoke you, to get any reaction at all. But with each failed attempt, they lose more of their influence. Silence is their greatest enemy, because it leaves them with no audience for their theatrics. It strips them of the attention they crave and forces them to confront the fact that their manipulations no longer work. The punishment here is profound. By withholding your attention and emotional energy, you show them that they no longer hold any power over your inner peace. Silence is your strength, and it is a punishment they cannot ignore. It removes the stage on which they perform, leaving them with nothing but their own desperate need for validation. The 12th way to punish a narcissist is to choose distance over battle. Narcissists often thrive in conflict. They see every disagreement, every emotional outburst, as an opportunity to gain control, to establish dominance, or to feed their ego. They want to drag you into endless cycles of argument, to wear you down with their demands for attention and validation. But the greatest punishment you can give them is simply to walk away. By choosing distance, you remove yourself from their reach, both emotionally and physically. You stop engaging in their drama, stop trying to change them, and stop allowing them to influence your life. This is not about fleeing in fear. It is about choosing peace and reclaiming your power. Narcissists cannot control or manipulate someone who is no longer present to be controlled. This choice is the ultimate defiance. When you distance yourself, whether it's through limiting contact or setting clear boundaries about what you will and will not tolerate, you send a message louder than any argument ever could. I will not allow you to disrupt my peace. Narcissists are accustomed to people trying to fix them or begging for their attention. When you refuse to play that game, you shake their sense of control to its core. At first, they may try to pull you back in. They may beg, plead, or attempt to guilt-trip you into returning. But the more you remain distant, the more they will realize that you no longer care about their influence. The battle they've been fighting is over, and they've lost. The punishment is quiet, yet powerful. It is a refusal to engage in the cycle they've spent so long trying to keep you trapped in. Distance robs them of the control they crave and leaves them with nothing but their own attempts at manipulation, which will no longer have the desired effect. It is a reminder that you are not defined by their presence in your life, and that your peace is far more important than any battle they seek to create. The 13th way to punish a narcissist is to reclaim your inner freedom. Narcissists rely on manipulating others into submission, controlling their emotions, actions, and choices. They want to own your thoughts, your time, and your energy. The most devastating thing you can do to a narcissist is to be unshakable, to live with such a sense of self-sufficiency and inner peace that their efforts to control you become meaningless. Reclaiming your inner freedom means you stop letting them define your emotional state, your worth, or your happiness. You learn to govern your thoughts and actions with clarity, and to recognize that your value is not dependent on their approval or reaction. The Stoics taught that true freedom comes from within. They believed that no external force could take away your peace if you refuse to give it up. This is where your true power lies, in your ability to remain calm, steady, and unperturbed, no matter what they do. Every time a narcissist tries to provoke you, manipulate you, or draw you into their chaos, you have a choice. You can react, you can fight, you can engage in the drama, or you can choose peace. You can choose to remain unaffected by their attempts to control you. This doesn't mean you tolerate their behavior or allow them to treat you poorly. It means you refuse to let their actions disturb your peace. The punishment is profound. When you are at peace with yourself, when you are no longer at the mercy of their mood swings or manipulation, you rob them of their power. Narcissists crave control, but they can't control someone who has mastery over their own mind and emotions. They cannot manipulate a person who is rooted in their own sense of self. Reclaiming your inner freedom means you are no longer a pawn in their game. You are no longer affected by their words or actions. You are free, and that freedom is the ultimate punishment they cannot escape. No matter how hard they try to reel you back in, you are untouchable, and that is the one thing a narcissist cannot stand, seeing you thrive without their influence. The 14th way to punish a narcissist is to stop seeking their approval for your life decisions. Narcissists want to be the final authority on everything. They want to have the power to control your choices, to influence your direction, and to define your worth based on their standards. When you stop seeking their validation, you take away their ability to dictate your path. This does not mean you abandon seeking advice or feedback from others. It means you no longer depend on their approval to make decisions about your life. You trust yourself more than you trust their judgment. You stop looking for their endorsement or recognition, and instead you rely on your own values, principles, and intuition. By refusing to seek their approval, you show that you are the authority in your own life. This is particularly painful for a narcissist, as they thrive on being needed, on being the one others turn to for validation. When you break that pattern, you shift the power dynamic in a way that they cannot ignore. At first, they may try to subtly remind you of their influence, offering unsolicited advice or pushing their opinions onto you. They may try to manipulate you into doubting your choices or question your judgment. But when you continue to make decisions without their input, you reveal to them that their control no longer holds sway over you. The punishment is that they can no longer define your choices or direct your life. You are no longer a puppet to their approval, and that loss of influence is something a narcissist cannot tolerate. It exposes their lack of control and shows them that you are living on your own terms, not theirs. The freedom to make your own decisions without the need for their validation is a blow they cannot recover from. To summarize, punishing a narcissist isn't about revenge or retaliation. It's about reclaiming your power and taking away the very things that sustain their control. It's about withdrawing attention, setting boundaries, staying calm, and choosing silence over engagement. It's about showing them that you no longer need their approval, that their manipulation no longer affects you, and that you are no longer a part of their drama. Each of the strategies we've discussed is a quiet rebellion, an act of inner strength that strips away their power piece by piece without ever raising a finger in confrontation. The true punishment for a narcissist is not in loud defiance, but in the calm, steady assurance that their influence no longer holds sway over you. When you live well without them, when you detach emotionally, when you refuse to engage in their games, you show them that they are no longer the center of your universe. They may try to reclaim control. They may escalate their tactics. But every time you remain unshaken, you send a clear message. You are no longer a source of supply for their ego, and their attempts to manipulate or dominate you are futile. This is not about seeking to make them suffer. It's about finding your own peace and strength. The more you stand in your own truth, the more you distance yourself from their toxicity, the more you punish their ego by simply living as though they no longer matter. The best way to punish a narcissist is not to fight back, but to rise above them and live your life free from their grasp. In the end, your inner freedom is the ultimate blow to their sense of control, and that, ultimately, is the most powerful punishment of all. If these strategies have helped you reclaim your peace and inner strength, subscribe for more insights on how to live a life free from manipulation and control. Keep your focus on your own growth and never let anyone define your worth.